Today, we're jumping into one of the most intense, kind of paradoxical experiences you'll find in spiritual writing. We're talking about a divine gift that feels like, well, like pure agony. So let's get into it and explore how a blessing could possibly feel so much like a curse. I mean, just start with this. Imagine a spiritual state so powerful, so physically destructive, that an observer, in this case the famous 16th century mystic Saint Teresa of Avila, was convinced she was watching someone die. That's our starting point.
And this really is the central mystery, isn't it? How can something that's supposed to be a divine favor, a grace from God, cause suffering so deep it feels like you're literally dying? Let's unpack that.
So, where are we getting this from? Our guide here is Saint Teresa of Avila's incredible work, The Interior Castle. In it, she maps out a spiritual journey. And in this one part, she really wrestles with this bizarre paradox, a divine grace that brings on an almost unbearable amount of pain.
Here's the core of the paradox. Just imagine you desperately want something. Then you get just a little taste of it, a sign that it's real. You'd think that would be comforting, right? But no. Instead, that tiny glimpse makes the distance between you and what you want feel even bigger, way more painful. That's exactly what Saint Teresa is describing. The closer the soul gets to God, the more agonizing that last little bit of separation feels.
Okay, so what is this experience actually like? Saint Teresa doesn't just explain the paradox, she gives us these vivid, almost gut-wrenching descriptions of the feeling itself. She comes up with this incredible metaphor, the fiery dart. Now, this isn't a physical arrow. Think of it more like a spiritual one. It's this sudden, massive blow that doesn't just scratch you. It hits the absolute core of your being, completely bypassing your body. It's like a spiritual thunderbolt that just vaporizes everything else.
And you can see this isn't just an interpretation, it's right there in her writing. Saint Teresa is crystal clear that this is not physical pain. It's a wound that strikes the depths and center of the soul, a totally internal, metaphysical injury. And the result of this? Total paralysis. I mean, think about that. Every part of your mind, your will, your consciousness, what she calls the faculties, is completely locked down. The only thing they can still do is crank up the pain. It's an all-consuming internal prison.
Now you think, okay, if the wound is purely spiritual, the body should be fine, right? Well, not even close. As Saint Teresa describes it, the physical and psychological fallout is just shocking. I mean, just look at this list, pulled straight from her text. The pulse gets so weak it's like you're at death's door. The spiritual pain is so intense that joints can actually get dislocated. The person is left totally weak, exhausted, and can even pass out completely. This is not a metaphor, we're talking about a full-body shutdown.
And this is the wild part. Saint Teresa insists that as horrible as all those physical symptoms are, they are nothing compared to the spiritual torment. She says even the worst physical pain you can imagine feels like slighter aches when you stack it up against this attack on the inmost recesses of the soul.
And what about the psychological side? Well, it's a feeling of complete and utter isolation. This quote just captures it perfectly. The person feels like they're just stuck, trapped between worlds. They can't find any comfort on earth, but they can't quite reach heaven either. It is, like she says, a strange loneliness. Which, of course, brings us right back to our big question. Why? What could possibly be the point of such a devastating experience? Well, Saint Teresa argues it's not random. It's not cruelty. It has a profound, transformative goal. So she lays out three main benefits here. First, the pain acts like a furnace, supercharging the soul's love and longing for God. Second, it's basically a form of purgatory, right here on earth, a cleansing fire that purifies the soul. And third, once you've been through this level of suffering, every other problem on earth just seems small. It detaches you from all that worldly stress. So the big takeaway is this. The soul comes out of that fire completely changed. Yeah, the agony is temporary, but it leaves behind these permanent, precious graces. And maybe most importantly, after you've endured the absolute worst thing imaginable, you're pretty much free from all other fears. And this leads us to one final, really crucial insight from her text. This whole experience isn't random. It's a grace that's reserved for souls that have one very specific quality.
When it all comes down to it, Saint Teresa says these profound spiritual gifts, these transformative trials, are only given to souls with immense courage. It's a test, really. And only the truly brave are chosen to go through it, because the reward on the other side is so great.
She ends by hitting us with this powerful biblical question, echoing what Jesus asked his disciples. It's a direct challenge. Are you willing to go through the suffering that comes with a higher purpose? Can you take the bitter along with the sweet?
And that's really what this nearly 500-year-old text leaves us with. It makes us ask ourselves what real courage even looks like. Maybe it's not just about facing threats out there in the world, but about having the inner strength to endure the agony of being completely taken apart and put back together again. It's a question that's just as relevant now as it was back then.